Hi, I'm Katie Reinertz, and this is my informative speech. And then here's my three audience members. Many of you have heard about tools of genocide, such as guns, bombs, and concentration camps. Today I am here to inform you about another tool of genocide rape. I'm sure you have all heard about stories about rape and on the news and through the media, but you may not have known about the brutal rapings during the Rwanda genocide. I have been researching this topic for a couple weeks now, and in my speech, I will inform you on why the victims of Rwanda were raped, a few of the victims' stories, and some effects of the victims after rape occurred. Many of you may not be familiar with the causes of rape or the reasons why the two Tutsi women of Rwanda were raped during the genocide. Rape was used in means of stripping the Tutsi women of their dignity and identity. The Tutsi women were raped because the Hutus wanted to establish control over the Tutsi population. The Hutus believed that they could go after the women because they would be an easy target. According to two survivors that spoke and was a part of the lived experience of genocide, rape survivors in Rwanda, there was myth regarding to the sexual superiority of the Tutsi women. They thought that they were sexually sweeter than the Hutu women. To the militants, rape was a form of revenge against those women. They would have not have had the access in the past, and that it was also an act of revenge toward the entire community. The Tutsi women were not only raped by single officers, but they were gang raped, and they had used machines or guns, spears, broken bottles, broomsticks, and various other objects. The women were targeted the most because of their reproductive values. The officers wanted to ruin their sexual organs so the women were never able to reproduce again. Many women were just left for dead. According to articles, they had communities that were conducting public rapes in means to terrorize the local population. If the victims weren't raped violently, the perpetrators would intentionally impregnate them in order for the women to produce Hutu babies. Now that I have told you why the victims were raped, I'll tell you a couple of the victims' stories. I'm sure you all have heard of someone on the news being raped or have known someone personally. Well, imagine that woman being your mother, sister, or best friend, and it happening on a daily basis. Girls as young as 2 years old were even victims of rape. One of the stories was an innocent 2-year-old was taken from her home and was brutally raped by a gun barrel. After they were done raping her, they left her and she was just lying on the street by herself and she was left for dead. The damage of the gun barrel had done severe damage to her organs, and when she was found by her father, and he was so traumatized by the whole event, he couldn't really cope with what happened to her, and so then he ended up killing himself. Another story I have heard was about a 17-year-old. She was on her way to her cousin's house, and she got stopped by 5 men. They violently raped her and with a stick, and they did it so forcefully that urine and feces were leaking out of her body. Her family started to worry when she didn't come home, so they went out and found her suffering by herself. The young woman lived, but she had to deal with the consequences of being brutally raped and impure the rest of her life. Now that I have told you about a couple of victim stories, I will tell you the effects on the women that were raped. we were all shocked about rapes that happened near to us. But rapes in Rwanda were just another statistic, but they had the same effect on the Rwanda women, both emotionally and physically. After a woman was raped, she was considered impure because if she slept with another man than her own spouse, the community would look down on her and she would then be considered a prostitute. If a woman wasn't married before she got raped, they were usually not able to get married after it happened. The few survivors of rape were easy to spot out because the officers would often cut off a part of their body so they would always be reminded of what had happened to them. Many of the women could not cope with it and they were so ashamed that they left everything and everyone behind. The survivors of rape will always live with the dishonor and they truly are scared for life. The children that were born by rape were called the children of shame. Their whole life, they had to live with the embarrassment of being a child of a rape victim. As locals of Rwanda state, the children of rape were a source of conflict amongst their families because they were always reminded of what happened during the genocide. I have now informed you of how rape is used as a weapon of genocide. I now hope you have a better understanding of why the victims of Rwanda were raped, a few of the victims' stories, and some effects on the victims after rape occurred. Although guns, bombs, and concentration camps are weapons of genocide, you now know another form of weapon, and that is rape. And that is my speech, and here are my three audience members.